Hello, Miss Danielle Richard. Or is it Richard?
It is Richard. Yeah.
It's Richard. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, Louisiana.
I know about we travel to about Alexandria is when Richard starts to come into play. And anything south of Alexandria is Richard all the way. And we would
Gotcha.
happily answer to it. But um my husband's family, it was formerly Richards with an S on the end, and there was one renegade relative a few generations back that dropped the S. So it's just Richard.
We like renegades, and and that's a great segue into your book. All right,
Well, thank you. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a great segue to your book. Your book, System Redesign Handbook for a Humane Era, is this book, and it really goes into us rethinking the way that we have these systems in place, pretty much.
Yeah.
Now, before we get real deep into the book, we're gonna ask some questions about Danielle herself. All right.
Oh, okay.
So go ahead, introduce yourself to the audience, and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I am my full time, my day job is a graphic designer. And I'm originally from Northeast Louisiana. I'm from a little town called Winsboro, but I met and married a Shreveport fella and was happy to move to the bigger city of Shreveport. So we've made our home here since 2005 and have been super involved in being a part of the community. A lot of the work I do is for like the city or the parish, or trying to help initiatives throughout the city. So I'm kind of a small town girl living in what is, in Shreveport, a bigger city, and really enjoying that dynamic. I'm also always kind of identified as a nerd, so I'm always looking into, how do things really work? How do we make things better? What's the research on this? What has happened in the past when we made a rule, like, whatever. So like, what's the data on it? How can we use that to our advantage to shape how we do things going forward?
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, speaking of systems, you had to have a system to try to write this book, right?
Right.
And how long did it take you to? I mean, this is I won't say a very extensive book, but it's a very thought provoking book. How long did it take you to write it?
Thanks. Yeah, it's short. It's not as long as maybe your average nonfiction book because I use a lot of graphics and pictures with it. That's what I feel more comfortable with as a graphic designer. So I'd been thinking about this for a long time and had kind of tried to work through, if I had this concept of making systems more humane, right? How do I explain that to people? Because it's kind of a nuanced thing. And so a book was really kind of my only option. I was kind of hoping for something easier or quicker or shorter, like an infographic or something, right? And then I'd be done. But I was like, no, a book really is the only way to get this done. So actually, January 1st of 2023, I I like to say I came out to my husband as writing a book because I had been kind of playing around with all of this stuff for a while, just in my spare time. But I'm like, no, if I'm going to write a book, I'm going to need to dedicate some time to that, right? Like that's not something I can just sneak in here or there. So um, it actually took all of 2023. I started in January and kind of was able to put some chapters together, an outline together, and then go through the process of kind of seeing what it might look like. Does this book? I got a lot of input and feedback along the way to kind of help guide how I was doing things. But by the mid-December of 23 is when I actually uploaded it to Amazon and it became official.
Oh, okay. So that means you're self-published, right?
That's right. Yeah. And that I didn't like set out to do that, but I didn't set out not to. I told one of my neighbors I didn't ask permission to write a book. I just started. Because, not being a published author, I don't have a body of work to like show publishers what I've done in the past. So I just kind of got started with the process and started making, shaping it into what I thought it could look like and should look like. And then started exploring, how do I put this out into the world after that?
I got you. You didn't ask for permission. What's that saying? I'd rather ask for your forgiveness than your
Right.
permission.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Now, how is it being self-published, right? You're pretty much doing everything, right, to promote your book.
Yeah, I think it's a blessing and a curse, like anything, right? It comes with its benefits and drawbacks. Um, the positive side is that every, every penny I make from it comes to me. It doesn't have to go to a publisher first. But also I didn't get an advance or anything to get started with. This is all funded by me. So it's a little bit of a good thing and a bad thing when you look at it in that perspective. I don't have a whole team of people that are helping to promote things, but at the same time, that's all I do is promote things for a living. So I'm like, well, I should know how to do that, So I've been able to start the promotion process more slowly and do it at a pace that fits my lifestyle and routine, while still maintaining my full-time job.
Okay. Now, how was it? How was it knowing that you can put writer at the end of that name?
That kind of really brought me a whole lot of joy. Once I finished the first rough draft, and I knew I had a work to do on it and had ideas about what I wanted to do to make things different, but I completed the rough draft. Like, I did that. That is past tense now. I can say it's done, the rough draft. At that point, when I was, working on it last year, that was really kind of the most exciting part that brought me, like, I got chill bumps just talking about it, thinking about it. Because like I say, I am a giant nerd. I have loved books, as long as I can remember. And to be, considered a writer or having written a book like that, it's like, oh, wait, I'm one of those. I get to contribute, not just learn, right?
hmm That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Now, you saying that you read a lot of books, and it kind of shows because I saw a list of books that you um that you put out there that you think that your readers should read. And I'm gonna tell you right now that book list is in my Amazon wish list, and it's getting pretty long, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do you foresee this list influencing the people that are reading your books now? You foresee reading your books?
Yeah. So I personally, I wind up listening to about a book a week on audiobooks. It is something that I just really enjoy, and it works. I say almost it's my mental therapy. It really improves my life tremendously. So I enjoy it. I go through about 52 books a year, So what I really wanted to do with the content that I put together in here is kind of separate it out by particular topic. So say you are struggling with a system, you want to make changes to it, this isn't working for you. Hopefully one of the chapters in this handbook will kind of give you a clue as to how that might work better. You're like, oh, wait, that might work for me. And so then I wanted to have for that chapter, for that section or whatever, 3 or 4 books that would let you dive deeper and learn more. Like, there's no need for you to read all of the books that I mentioned here, right? Like, if I can kind of give you within a chapter or two a clue about what might help you in your situation, then you can be like, oh, I need to narrow my focus. Let's look at these 3 or 4 books and see where that gets us. So that was kind of my strategy. That's how I learn a lot. I listen to podcasts as well. And so podcasts are kind of my I don't know, a commercial, a teaser, a preview for the authors and people they talk to on the podcast. And if they say something interesting that I think might be, worthwhile investigating, I go see what books they've written. And so I felt like if I could put things together that way in this book, this could help, give you a strategy. You could always come back to it and be like, okay, what would I need to read to address X, Y, or Z? And, I can kind of help send you in that direction on what to dive into further.
Gotcha. And now let's get into the book.
Okay.
Let's get into the book. If you had to break down to a person at, the elevator pitch, right?
Yeah.
And you give the elevator pitch to me about your book. I mean, I've read it, so. But,
right. Yeah. But yeah. So what I like to say is it is a system for systems, or almost a meta system, for making our human-made inventions work in our favor better. So everything that we've invented and we've created, any kind of human-made concept that we've put into place, in turn kind of shapes the way we live our lives, right? So just the fact that we build streets to drive on influences how we interact with our place, our community, our city. So there are ways to make what we invent work in our favor and make them more humane. I think a lot of systems that are in place today have just kind of been in place without much thought. We haven't bothered to evaluate if they're working better for us or making our lives worse. And so this is a call, number one, to have agency over the systems that we are, living in. And number two, a direction for how to make them work better for us.
And you really go into depth on what made you start to rethink the system. And it started with your children, which I can definitely understand. I can definitely understand. And I think that part of the book, I mean, I don't want to tell a lot about the book, but that part of the book really resonates with a lot of people, because we do see the failings in the systems around us. And I like how you go for a humane era. Now, what I saw you list the books, and I can see where you got a lot of your influence on the humane era. But what really made you boil down to that being just the system redesign for humane era?
Yeah, well, so if you look at natural systems, complex dynamic systems are kind of what works best in the natural world. Complex adaptive systems, right? So that's a thing you could Google, you can look up, find a book on complex adaptive systems. Those really work best for lots of things. And the systems that humans have created look nothing like that, right? We're not adaptive. We don't make changes. We just write down a rule and say, that's it forever. Sorry, it says so right here in our policy. So that was always what I kept finding when I went to look back at the root of the problem, right? Like, there's so many within, the context of my two kids being in the public school system, there were so many elements of things that weren't working in their favor that it was hard to even pinpoint one thing that I would wish that could be better, right? There's so many things that need to be changed. So like, what is the root cause of that? How do we get back towards more complex adaptive systems in a way? Rather than these very strict and enduring and never changing human-made policies and systems, especially as it, relates to the public school system here.
Yeah, I think that's everywhere.
Well, yeah.
That's definitely everywhere. Now, all of this information, you have a wonderful website that really um, helps a reader dive deep into how to implement these systems. Can you go over that a little bit? Your website?
For sure. Yeah. So what I set up is system-redesign.org. And it includes a lot of the information in the book. It's not, exactly the book outright, but at the back of the book, I created a reference section that I wanted people to be able to lay down like on a copy machine and copy these 3 or 4 pages. This would give you the gist of the concepts, right, of the whole book and sort of my reading material to learn more for each topic. So once I had kind of created that for the physical book that you can, put like at the library, you can put it down on the face of a copy machine and take that with you. I thought, well, this is perfect for a website. So I was able to set up a page where you can download those exact pages from the back of the book, the reference section. You can download those yourself as a PDF file. You can print out however many copies you want. You can share it with people. Like, I'm not trying to gatekeep any of this information. I really feel like if I could share this with everyone in the universe, we would all be a lot better off. So I wanted to create something that was easily accessible online, even if you can't afford to buy the book, which, costs money to print, and I don't want to lose money. So I can't give away hard copies, but I can sure give away PDF downloads. Those don't cost me anything if you download that. So that's kind of my strategy there. And hopefully it's also a promotional tool, right? So if you hear about it and go download the things and you're like, wait, this kind of makes sense. I wonder what she means by that. Maybe you'll go buy the book so you can, read the full thing.
Yeah, I really do love the PDFs because it gives you a chance to really think through, what changes would I make, right? That's really kind of what this book is saying. Like, it's making the reader think about, well, what do you think about this? What changes would you make to a system? And that's the reason I really love the PDFs. I mean, you have the card, you really go through step by steps, right? You have the diagram. So I employ anybody that reads the book to go to the website, check out the PDFs, and actually give it a try, right? Be a part of that exercise. And in the whole process of being a part of that exercise, what are you hoping that people get out of being a part of that exercise?
Yeah. So I do include some tips at the end of most chapters about how you can make little changes within your own life, right, to make your systems worthwhile. But ultimately, so many of the systems that govern our lives are beyond our control, right? They were set up before we were born. I had nothing to do with creating the public school system, how it exists today. So that's going to take some collective action. So when you have the capacity, I would love for people to come together. I've created a collaboration card that you can download as well. It's also in the referencing section, so you can make a copy of it. And it kind of walks you through, if you're going to get a group together, let's say I have a group of parents who are all saying, yeah, this one particular thing I think could be better. Let's go to the local school board or the state, board of education or whatever to try to make some real change system wide. The collaboration card can help work you through that process and give concrete things for the powers that be to make changes towards and reasons why, right? So it also, the whole kind of premise of this takes the blame off of people, right? We're here attacking a system. We want to edit it to work well for us. We're not blaming you, whoever might be in charge of it, or even middle management, teachers on the ground, right? Those people are working the hardest to make things work well. They have zero control over the rules, just like you do. I'm never trying to blame a person or even an organization or group of people. The system itself is the thing that needs our attention. And we have to collaborate with the people in charge for that, whether we think they're doing a good job or not. If the system affects my life, I'm sure as heck going to speak up and let people know what I think can be better. So this is very much a call to collaborate with other humans, not to try to point fingers or blame. That doesn't get us anywhere, right? Like that doesn't do any good. It feels good, but it doesn't change anything ultimately.
Definitely. And I like how you put that, because we are just kind of really a part of the system. And, with us being a part of the system, we need a system that works with us in the system.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so, right now, you brought up how you listen to audiobooks, you listen to podcasts. You're actually in the process of recording the audiobook. Am I correct?
That's right. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm partnering with my 16-year-old, believe it or not. He is a video editing kind of guru. That's really what his passion is right now. And so in thinking about how to put the audiobook out there, I definitely wanted this to exist somehow where people can listen to it. Because I love that. That's all I do is listen to audiobooks and stuff. But there are a ton of images in the book and graphs and pictures. And like I say, I really work better with pictures and not just words. And I thought describing graphs in audio format just does not sound all that fantastic. So it actually, if I were to create an audiobook that would be through Audible or something traditional, I wouldn't make that much money off of those sales. So I thought, well, why not just make something free that people could enjoy one chapter at a time? My initial thought was just a podcast feed. And then maybe they could go to the website to see the pictures that go with it or whatever. But as we talked about it some more, it just made so much sense to create a series of YouTube videos. So I've actually reformatted the book. The YouTube video itself will be the book and the graphics. As I say the words, as I read it, the images will change. So you'll be able to see exactly what I'm describing as I'm describing it. And I'll also be able to, once they're finished, there'll be 25 episodes or 25 individual videos that we'll release, one at a time. But as we release them, I can also just take that audio from the YouTube video and have a podcast feed from it. So no matter which way you are most comfortable listening to things, whether it's YouTube or a podcast feed, you'll be able to get to it that way. And I wouldn't, I don't necessarily make money off of people listening to YouTube videos. It kind of sounds like I'm giving the book away for free, but the idea is to have it as a promotional tool, right? Since I don't have a publisher behind me with all kinds of connections and big advertising budgets, this I think could be a much more approachable way for people to learn about the book. And if they watch an episode and are interested in it, then they'll know how to engage with it further.
I think this is just a part of the Richard creative empire being built.
Right.
Because your creative side is definitely showing. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, my son pointed out, if you get enough views on YouTube, he's very much into watching what other creators do. You make money off of that. So, if I get enough subscribers and viewers, that could generate, some income to help support this endeavor. But even if it doesn't, I think it would be a great way to just share the concept and share the idea in general.
Yeah, I go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I haven't recorded it all yet. I'm scheduling that, so it'll be coming up soon. But we put together like a prototype episode I can send you a link to that. It's just a private link, but I'd be glad to share it in the notes section of this episode if people want to watch and listen and let me know their feedback. You can kind of be our sample audience if you want.
Oh, cool beans. Let's make that happen.
All right,
Yeah, definitely.
I'll send you that and you can check it out. It's not, high quality or anything. It's kind of a rough cut of what we think it could look like, just to kind of see, okay, if this is a thing we invent from scratch, how does it look? Let's test it out a little bit before I record the whole, book from start to finish. So it's our playing around with it to see if it makes sense.
Oh, definitely. I really like that idea because, and then we're at the same time, we're going to have your website. We're going to have the Richard Creative website, definitely down there.
Awesome.
And we're also going to have a place that you can actually purchase the book. All right. We're going to have some Amazon links down. So people can, actually go down and purchase the book and be a part of this system redesign. Now, do you have any more book signings lined up? Because I know you had some already.
I do. Actually, on April 12th, I'm going to be at the Bossier Arts Council, and it's actually a big event. I think it's up to about 24 authors, local authors from Shreveport will be on hand there signing their books. And there's going to be like a book reading every 10 minutes or so, I think, which is kind of interesting. But it's 5:30 to 7:30 on Friday, April 12th. That's where we'll be out. We're hoping for good weather. We're hoping it'll be outdoors, but even if not, they have a great indoor space there as well. So we'll be good to go.
Definitely. Now, this whole process and this whole thing that you're doing, I admire. Right? I admire. And I really do believe that it is something that we need. We need to really start thinking about the systems as they are. We live in a time where I like to say we are surrounded by knowledge, but drowning on stupidity. Right? Yeah. And actually thinking about and redesigning things that can make this time frame more humane to people is really what we need. Thank you for being a part of this, Danielle.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I mean, like I said, I really admire what you're doing with your book. I really admire you as a person. So this right here was a pleasure for me.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. And I have to say, I thank Miss Dorothy and Kim in the acknowledgments, because honestly, a ton of what I learned that I've been able to put into the book, I've learned through my work with Allendale Strong, right? A lot of the information about how we create our setting to work in our favor, our neighborhood where we live, our community, that comes straight out of work that I've done with Allendale Strong. And that wouldn't be part of the book without my involvement there. So I'm appreciative to everybody who puts their time and energy into the Allendale Strong cause.
Definitely. I know you put a lot of time and energy, and we wouldn't be in the place that we are without you.
Well, I appreciate that. I enjoy it. It's very fulfilling work for me personally, and it's a bonus that I get to spend time with people like you guys. So
definitely. Well, thank you, Danielle, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.